Alright, so let's just do another one. These are fun. And they help me think out loud, which is the topic of the next video that I want to, or whatever, however you want to describe what I'm doing. This next video is called Thinking by Talking. It's like 5 years in the future from the last one that I did, but whatever, I'm not trying to go chronologically.
Hey friends, so today I spent many hours talking to people. Specifically, I did a 3-hour stream on Twitch with my friend Michael, and then I just did a podcast with another friend Nicholas for an hour and a half, so it's a total of 4.5 hours, and that was my day basically. I had to wake up early for the for the stream. I had to wake up early for the stream, and so I then took a nap afterwards, and then kind of hung out, sat around, then did the podcast.
Just real quick, Visa, it does seem like you're in such a different time zone than like the vast majority of people on Twitter. I get the impression sometimes that you literally just don't sleep, or that you do some kind of crazy polyphasic sleeping, because it just seems like you're always there. Always seems like you're always reacting to people or responding to people, always posting stuff. I don't know how you do it.
And it's interesting to spend so much time talking to people, because I feel like, in both of these cases, these are people that I have shared interests with, and they were asking me a lot of questions, and it's very satisfying for me to be able to sit and answer someone's questions in conversation, because I feel like, especially if they know what I'm about, roughly at least, and so when I'm explaining myself to them, it's not like...
Another quick aside, kind of note to self. You just said that you really enjoy sitting down and just answering people's questions, and my immediate reaction was like, oh man, I really don't know if I do enjoy that. A big, let's just call it a shadow for simplicity's sake, a big shadow of mine is being an expert, being somebody who knows the answer. I'm much, much, much more comfortable with asking questions and turning questions back at people rather than supplying them with the information. So this is interesting. And in the past, I've considered that to just be a personality trait, but I really don't think that that's the case. I think it's much more of just an insecurity. There's shame elements involved, vulnerability elements involved, and that's something I'd like to work on this year. So I'm glad you said that.
I'm explaining everything. There's some shared common ground, and so for today's video, I guess I just wanted to quickly talk about talking as a social technology. That's a kind of tedious way of putting it, but just talking as a way of figuring things out, figuring yourself out, figuring your ideas out, and it's part of why I make videos as well. It's because I do think that while I am way better at typing than speaking, there's something about real-time communication, and it does, you can do this by text, but the difficulty with text is you can't convey tone, right? And so, if you did what I did and you spent a lot of your life kind of communicating by text, via text, you end up developing all of these elaborate ways of trying to convey tone that actually, when you're speaking, you can do those kind of things that.
Yeah, I think even at this point, I do that too much, where leaving, let's say, replying to someone's tweet and leaving a comment which I think is slightly funny or embarrassing, if I just write it and put a period at the end, it feels very uncomfortable, and I feel almost compelled to put some sort of emoji or to say LOL or something like that. It's probably a habit that's worth breaking, but that's how it is.
Convey uncertainty, or you can use like brackets and literally describe your emotions or describe your hesitance or hesitates or whatever. I'm sleepy, so I can't think super clearly, but I want to make sure that I publish a video every day, and I had recorded a bunch of my past few videos, like multiple videos a day, so I was scheduling them kind of one day at a time. So I think I recorded about 3 videos in one day, scheduled them one for each day, recorded another 3 videos in one day, scheduled them one for each day. So, and then now I ran out of videos, so I got to start making them again. I asked people for a bunch of questions to ask me I asked people for suggestions on what content I should make in my last kind of poll thing. Or not poll, it's like a post. You can make posts on YouTube. Who knew? And I will be getting those questions in the coming days. I just feel like I'm a little bit too sleepy and tired to answer a specific question, so I'm choosing now to riff off of a thought, which is the thought about talking to people. And I want to keep this...
Before you go back into it, the reason why I chose this video to do whatever I'm doing is because I think that talking is my favorite way of thinking, and it hasn't always been that way. But I think in the times when it wasn't that way, it was just because I was scared of talking more. I wasn't comfortable with my voice. I wasn't really comfortable with expressing myself out loud or around others. So I have a long history with that. And for example, like if you go to my blog, the first page is all about improv. And that was a huge, huge factor in getting more comfortable with my voice, but there are other things. Anyway, yeah, learning to think out loud has been probably one of the, honestly, probably, I like to say, back in 2018, I bought a voice recorder, like a tiny little Sony voice recorder that I could go on walks with and do my journals out loud instead of on my computer. And I like to say that that is the best technology investment I have ever made. So, if that kind of conveys the point.
Shorter than my usual one. So the past few videos I've made 10 minutes per video. I'm going to stop this at 8. So we got 4.5 minutes each to go. Let's go. I find that when people ask specific questions, it tends to come, you can, and if the question is vague, you can always ask for elaboration and to kind of get into specifics, and you can kind of count on the other person's responses and rhythms. Well, it depends on the person. Not everybody responds the same way. But, I'm just thinking about how when you talk to people, or when I talk to people, there's a prioritization that happens. Like, you don't want to waste other people's time.
Sorry. Just want to mention here, the last one of these I did was about writing for yourself versus writing for the audience. And talking to people is like the epitome of doing that well, right? Like, if you don't talk to people, then you can just go off on your own paths into the wilderness of your own thoughts, which is not a bad thing, but it might not lead you anywhere that has any relevance to anyone else. But if you're talking with somebody, you can see, at least, I mean, if you're socially aware enough and you make an effort, you can see whether they understand, or they're like, I disagree with you, or they're really into what you're saying. Like, there's instant feedback. So, yeah, talking out loud to yourself is amazing. Talking out loud and thinking in conversation at times is even better.
And it's funny to think about, because my first 100 videos or so, my videos were half an hour long, 40 minutes long, and sometimes an hour long. And I don't regret that. I feel like I wanted to kind of just fill up time and fill up space and be comfortable taking up that much space. And I do think that was a useful skill to develop, but it's not great for most people don't watch videos that long, right? Especially if you're not like famous or you're not, kind of a proven entity, right? And so the smart thing to do if you're trying to produce content on YouTube for people to watch is to make shorter videos. And even I noticed an improvement with 10 minutes, like the engagement on 10-minute videos, and so I'm cutting it down a little bit further to 8. And it's also just an interesting test of my sense of time. And I really enjoyed the challenge in my 10-minute video.
That is true. It's a real humbling exercise to set a timer for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or even 2 minutes and try to explain an idea. And you'll realize, or at least when I've done this, you'll realize how much you fucking ramble. It's crazy. I also speak slow, but yeah, being concise is not easy.
About a practical philosophy for life that Anna Laura asked me the last time, and it's just in advance that you can't possibly say everything, right? And to say all of everything about any topic would take a lifetime or longer, or something just can't be said by a single person. And
again, sorry for jumping in, but it reminds me one of the first things I remember learning as a direct response copywriter was this idea from, oh no, I'm gonna forget his name. The guy, Claude Hopkins, who wrote My Life in Advertising. He said, advertising is just salesmanship in print. And if you think about what that means, and when he wrote that, which was like back in the 20s or whatever, they're talking about like door-to-door salespeople, right? You have to go up to some stranger's house, knock on their door, maybe they crack it open, and you have like a split second to capture their attention and get them interested in what you've got to say, and you don't have time to ramble. And so yeah, it's just interesting to hear you talk about the value of timing yourself and trying to encapsulate and condense these ideas that you have into whatever little container that you give yourself. And it reminds me a lot of that concept of salesmanship in print. And yeah, this is basically salesmanship in really short YouTube videos.
And so the art of this whole process is not to kind of apologize and fail, but to try and evoke the most of what you can within the space that you have, right? And I was thinking about, there's this quote about conversations versus monologues, and something in the quote said something like, you've had a good conversation when you when you don't recognize the words coming out of your mouth, meaning that you're not running a script, you're not just reciting your talking points, but
this is also what Eugene Gendlin discovered as being the essential factor in whether therapy works or not. Just as an aside, those who make no progress in therapy are the ones who just come in and say the things that they already think, and discover nothing new about themselves. Even if what they think sounds really good and it sounds like they have a lot of self-knowledge, if they don't crack open and use their felt sense and find themselves at a loss for words, then they go nowhere.
Rather, you have been in the context of the conversation, you've been brought somewhere new, somewhere interesting, somewhere different, and you're making connections on the fly that you had not thought to make in advance. And I'm starting to enter this zone now at 5 minutes. I know the first couple of minutes I was kind of just trying to say words, and then along the way you get your flow. It's a bit of a hop and skip to it. And it's funny because I've been practicing music recently. I've been practicing guitar. I want to do 100 2.5 minute 2 minute 20 seconds guitar freestyle videos on Twitter. So I don't think I'm going to post that on YouTube because they're vertically oriented. I don't know if anybody wants to see it, let me know in the comments. I might stitch together some of the videos, or maybe I'll like stitch together the best riffs. And what happens is that's interesting is that so over the course of 2 minutes, a lot of it is just fumbling and it's like kind of tedious noodling, but sometimes along the way I just kind of catch a wave, right? Catch a wave is another metaphor that it's like with surfing. Sometimes you catch a good wave, and then in that zone, in that
I don't know if you can hear them, but there are people catching good waves right in front of me.
space, you might do something interesting, and that is, I think, the fun of tweeting. It's the fun of making these short videos as well. And I like not having a specific agenda with the video. I mean, I have like a direction. I wanted to talk about talking, right? And I got reminded of the point about conversations bringing you to a new space and exploring new ground. When you go there, it's exciting, and then you have fun. And having fun is the point. I think there is a buoyancy that comes from when you're riding the wave, that comes from surprise, from curiosity, from interest. And I think ultimately, if you want to write books, which is what I do, you want to try and capture some of that energy. Any kind of media you do, right? Whether you're making video games or making tweets or videos or whatever it is that you're making, you want to kind of bottle lightning, right? You want to capture that emotion and that feel, and you want it to move you in some way. And what is it? To move someone else, you have to be moved yourself. I think that's true. I mean, sometimes it can happen by accident. Sometimes it can happen, you have a formula or whatever, but like the most reliable way to do it is you move yourself. And so I want to keep making these videos so that I can practice speaking, practice having conversations, replying to comments and so on, and see if I can move myself, and then maybe move other people.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I'm doing it this way too. Totally spontaneous, off the cuff, thinking out loud in conversation, in a parasocial conversation, to be specific. But yeah, what you said at the end there, though, about riding the wave and like not really knowing where you're going at the start, and then just kind of discovering a vein that you can ride. Like, sorry, mixed metaphors there, but yeah, it's one of the big reasons why I have actually gravitated away from writing on the computer for the last couple of years, actually, in favor of just recording myself. And nowadays I have Otter, and it's been fucking amazing. I love Otter because when you're talking, you can notice. Again, you have to be self-aware. Some people don't have this, I think, but you can develop it. But you can notice as you're speaking those movements of energy and those waves, and like when you've found or when you've like locked in to something that you can really like flow with. It's possible when you're writing, but much harder. Just one, because you're so much less embodied. Certainly when you're typing, you're way less embodied, and if you're handwriting, then you just can't write fast enough to really keep up. So yeah, talking is the bomb. Yeah, that's it basically.